Hi, this is me, Hesham, from A10 Networks. I'm very happy to be with you this year in MENA ISC event to talk about the updates about security that we all work on it every day. So today I would like to talk to you about zero trust security model, which in brief means that the traffic, every traffic, is suspected to have a potential security threats. Unless you inspected this traffic, you cannot trust it. So simply trust no traffic and trust no one. On specific today, we will talk about how you have a visibility over encrypted traffic over TLS and SSL. Why it is important? Because we know the traffic is encrypted today. 90% and more of the internet traffic today is encrypted. Therefore, you cannot see the data and the actual traffic to inspect unless you were able to decrypt this traffic to have better visibility and precise decision. So at the end of the session, there will be a time for you to have if you have any question to ask. So please prepare your questions and I will be glad to answer all of them at the end of this session. So let's begin. We all know that encryption gives you privacy and is very important today. Even with some standard, you cannot publish some services without having it encrypted. But at the same time, it can hurt your security. So what we can do, shall we stop encryption or shall we find some other solution? So the attacks today also are on the rise. 3.92 million average cost per data breach. This is a huge number. And the Trojan malware threats as well are in increase. Now, most of these attacks happening over encrypted traffic. And this attacks is not limited to a country or a region. It's a global trend now. Every single place in the internet or in the globe are subjected to have an attacks, and the attacks can cause a severe impact from branding damages into ransom or lost revenue and so on. Statistically, we know that more than 94% of the traffic today is encrypted. Only 6% of the internet traffic is in clear text. But the challenge is 55% of malwares, for example, is using the encrypted traffic. So the attackers are fully aware about the encryption and the hardness of inspecting the encrypted traffic. So they hide their malicious activities inside this encrypted traffic. We need to be smarter than them and to inspect the encrypted traffic in a smart way. So what is happening? If you have an attack today, security threats comes to you, you cannot prevent it. So before the attack happens, you have nothing to do because it comes over encrypted tunnel, so you cannot differentiate legitimate traffic from illegal traffic or threats. During the attack, you have nothing to do as well because you cannot see what is this attack type, what is the nature of the attack, what is the source and destination of this attack, and you're helpless. And after the damage and the attack occurred, you are a victim of something you don't know, and you didn't able to manage it during the attack duration, or you couldn't even prevent it from the beginning. So what we can do, this is a sample or example for every one of us in data center. We have a lot of security devices, smartly selected all of them, and we put our investment in the right place. But because the traffic is encrypted, those security solutions are hand-tight and they cannot do much about them. So either to enable a license in each security device to do SSLI, which means each device will decrypt and re-encrypt. I personally don't take this as a solution because it will cause a latency and eventually you will have bad user experience. The second thing, you will invest more money and waste your budget for something you can have it in more smarter way. Why? Because license is costing money and operational cost as well. Or you need to enlarge the device capacity and CPU processing power to be able to accommodate the decryption, re-encryption, CPU utilization. So in all cases, this is not a wonderful solution from my perspective. Even if you have an out-of-band solution like DLP or antivirus, they are not mostly installed inline. How you can give the antivirus and DLP an idea about what's going on here unless you can send samples of this traffic or files to them to inspect in clear text format. So eventually, this is complicating the network and having a bad user experience and waste your budget and causing a latency and a lot of other problems. So again, what is the solution? We have to have SSL. We have to have encrypted traffic goes to and from internet. At the same time, we have to have clear text over security devices to be able to do their job without compromising the user experience and the performance as well. So as per NSA, the best solution they recommend is to install an SSLI in line, where we can have a dedicated channel, secure channel with the client side and another one with the server side. Another thing I quoted here is do it well and do it once. All the session today is about how to do it well and to do it once. So I would like to introduce today to you the SSL Insight concept. It is a solution that can decrypt the traffic in a very contained zones and re-encrypt it with a very powerful engine to give your security decrypt zone full visibility over encrypted traffic. Let's see why we recommend this and what is the beauty about the solution. So SSLI, regardless, and we talk about technology more today, you have to consider in any SSLI solution that you can have the visibility and versatility and performance. It should be a high efficient device that can use almost all cipher suits, that can use 2K key and 4K key as well if needed, and of course use the most encryption ciphers like PFS, ECDHE, and so on. And this should not compromise the performance and the scalability. It's good also to have a multi-layered security services. If you can do SSLI, why don't you do a lot of things on top of it from security perspectives? And again, we need to keep our network simple for operational cost, troubleshooting, and configuration. All of the three concepts are available in A10, and you need to consider them in any SSLI solution you're gonna have. We will talk about them in some details. So this is what we recommend, what we see the best way to have visibility over encrypted traffic in order to achieve the zero trust security model. So again, exactly we are here in line. We have full control over a session between the client and SSLI device. We give him the certificate and the key, and we're able to encrypt and re-encrypt and decrypt the traffic client to A10. The same from the server side over internet. We can have the encryption tunnel, and we can use all cipher suits and all certificates if needed. In the middle, we keep the security decrypt zone in full visibility. So we can steer the traffic, we can do proxy chaining, we can feed the devices in the middle in a very smart way and controlled way where you can take your decision, then send the traffic back to the SSLI solution to re-encrypt it and send it to the final destination. By this, you did encryption and re-encryption one time, but inspected as many as you need. So the solution from A10 not limited to decryption encryption, but also we can do on-demand application firewalling, where we can understand the application nature with or without decrypting it, and we can take an action on this basis. Threat investigators, URL and web filtering, ICAP integration, threat intelligence, and user ID. We're going to talk about them in the coming slides in some sort of details. Now, the key topics we're going to talk about today in SSLI solution is how to achieve comprehensive visibility. What does it mean to be compliance when you do this decryption, re-encryption? How you can be a trusted man in the middle. Definitely we are inline device, so we have to be trusted man in the middle. What we're going to do with the TLS 1.3 and what you should know about it. And we can talk about more functions and topics in this coming slides. So what we mean by comprehensive visibility. Comprehensive visibility here is not, you have to understand that it's not only HTTPS over TCP 443. The encryption could happen on any other port, right? Selectively. In the same time, it's not limited to HTTP. It could be anything else like SSH or SFTP or SCTP, SCCP, or even for the legacy SMTP over start TLS. So in A10, we can support all of this dynamic ports and multi-protocols. At the same time, you have to take care always about IPv4, IPv6. If you don't have IPv6 today in your network, who knows, tomorrow you may have it. So the SSLI solution should be capable to do the same job for IPv4 and IPv6 packets. And it should be bidirectional inspection in a way that you can intercept the traffic that comes out of your network egress and as well as the ingress traffic that comes into your data center. You don't know who is attacking whom, where the security resides, threats resides, so you need to inspect all the traffic. So the SSLI solution shall be bidirectional as well, where A10 can do this. Now, compliance is a very important topic here. When we decrypt the traffic, we are sometimes accessing very sensitive data. Are we willing to intercept all the traffic? Actually, by compliancy, there is a standard. For example, we should not decrypt a healthcare industry traffic. If I have a customer or employee who want to check his X-ray over the hospital website, I don't want to spy on this. I don't want to decrypt it. It's the same for if I want to check my banking statement, I don't want anyone to have a sight on what I'm going to check. So financial institution, financial industry, and healthcare as well shall be bypassed. Now, how can we understand and collect and gather all these categories together? By actually having an integration with a third party that have a cloud and keep this list updated. And we check the SNI and the certificate manipulation. So we understand this is a healthcare sector, or this is a financial sector. Based on this, we can bypass. Also, certificate subject name. It's very important. Sometimes, you know what? The banks are bypassed. The financial sector are bypassed. We are happy. But what if one of the banks had been compromised? So out of this category, which is financial, you want to stop this compromised bank network to inspect the traffic, right? In this case, we can use certificate subject name, and this is one of the use case, of course, but I'm just giving you an example. At the same time, of course, you have to have a capability to build your own lists, right? Maybe one of the sites that is not categorized as anything, and you need to stop it. So you can build your own domain list or IP list to bypass, or even to select this domains to be inspected and leave the others. Of course, compliance is an important topic, and advanced feature here is playing a vital role inside the SSLI. Our web classification services here is powered by a webroot, and we have more than 600 million domains, 27 billion URL classification, and so on. This integration, of course, in A10 comes in a good flavor. where you can download this hashed categories inside the A10 appliance itself. So we don't need to check the cloud every single time we got the traffic against categories or classifications. We have it already on the appliance, so it's instant action. To keep this list updated, you may have a direct access through management port, direct access through management port to the cloud to keep this list updated. And of course, if you don't want this to happen, we may have a proxy in the middle who can access the internet, download this database, and push it internally to A10 appliances. So both options are there. Trusted man in the middle, this is very important. Now, if A10 stay, or the SSLI solution in general stays in line, that means you trusted the certificate owned by A10 into the client machines, right? So what if the client was trying to visit a website that has a revoked address or revoked certificate or untrusted certificate? The client will not be aware because A10 simply give him a trusted certificate. You did this. So we have to understand the server certificate to test it. And if it is trusted, we will give him our certificate as a trusted. If he was going to untrusted website, we shall change our certificate attributes to make it revoked or something to give the client the visibility over what is he visiting, and the certificate error going to be appearing on his web browser. At the same time, we have to have two separate sessions, one session with the client, another session with the server, and in the middle we have full control. So in a way, you can have a different TLS version with a client, completely separate and different from the TLS version with the server side. Now, let's talk a little bit about SSL Insight and TLS 1.3. And I want you to remember this. TLS 1.3 did not come to fix a vulnerability or a breach in TLS 1.2. No, TLS 1.2 is not broken yet, and it is completely safe. So why TLS 1.3 came here? Simply for extra user privacy. Now, is it good or bad? We can see that there is a slow adoption for TLS 1.3 over internet today for many reasons. First, if we talk about the last slide about compliancy, how we can bypass some domains and how we can inspect some others. Now we need to have access over the SNI in the certificate, if you remember. In TLS 1.3, the SNI is encrypted. So there is no way for the SSLI solution to bypass any categories or classification. So this is not good from compliancy perspective. At the same time, there were in previous version negotiations between the TLS versions. So if I support TLS 1.2 and a client support only 1.1, we can negotiate and downgrade the TLS version into 1.1. But with TLS 1.3, the negotiation had been ceased. There is no negotiation. If you want to work with TLS 1.3, all clients need or must have ability to do TLS 1.3, which is not the case everywhere. Also, the zero round trip delay, we know that it has been broken and subjected to some kind of attacks and vulnerability, but there is a lot of talks about zero RTT today. So what we do about TLS 1.3 and what we recommend. This, I want to confirm, it does not break the RFC. If you have this standard or setup in your network, it is completely fine and still complies with the RFC of TLS 1.3. But this is how we can compromise and take the benefit of 1.3 without taking the disadvantage of it. Remember, we always have two separate sessions. A session with a client that we can use TLS 1.2. Therefore, we can see the SNI still, we can bypass the domains that needed to be bypassed. On the server side, we can still use TLS 1.3. The traffic has been inspected. It's trusted traffic, so it's fine. Now we can do the TLS 1.3 extra privacy protocol. Of course, we have more about TLS 1.3, but in this session, we just talk about what we recommend for you from learning perspective. Now, every one of us, when we have to adopt a new security element, especially in line, we need to think a lot about traffic, latency, failover, how we can configure and deploy this device. This is a powerful point, a very powerful point from A10, that we support all deployment modes. We can talk to the network as a layer 2. We can talk to the network as layer 3. And at the same time, the security decrypt zone could contain layer 2 or layer 3 or both of them. A10 understand all layers, layer 2 and layer 3, and simply we can communicate with the devices in a very efficient way. Now, why is this important? Definitely, when we talk about security zone, we send the traffic that comes from the client, all of it, to the security decrypt zone, right? So we have three cases here. Either the traffic come in clear text in the first place, so we didn't do anything, it's already clear text, we send it to the security decrypt zone as is. Or it could come encrypted. And in this case, there is two options. Either we managed to decrypt this traffic, or we didn't manage for any reason, bypass or failure or anything happened, we did not intercept this traffic and send it encrypted. Eventually, all this traffic left the appliances and went somewhere else. We know where it goes. It goes to security decrypt zone. But when the traffic comes back to the SSLI solution, now I need to react. If the traffic comes clear text, I need to understand, was it originally clear text or it was encrypted traffic and I need to re-encrypt it? Now, how can we mark the traffic and classify the traffic? This is very important. In A10, we understand the IPs, we understand the VLAN tagging, we understand even layer 7 and layer 4 headers. So we can do port translation, for example, to mark the traffic. So if the traffic comes with port XYZ, I know this was originally 443, but I changed it to port XYZ. When it comes back, I understand and mark it. I can even insert a cookie inside the header to mark the traffic, to understand when it comes back to A10, what action shall I take? This gives your security decrypt zone full freedom to do whatever in the packet. You can do source natting, you can change the source MAC address, you can add anything in the header, and still we can process it in the best way. Of course, we have an option. If any change happened on the packet on layer 2 or layer 3, we will drop it. But we rarely see this case. We always see the security decrypt zone has a various of devices and different deployment modes, and you have to have freedom. So remember, when you go to any SSLI solution, to ask them if they support layer 2 and layer 3, and they can support ICAP protocol, etc. Now, proxy is a very important element inside our networks, and we need to deal with it. So there is two types of proxy deployment, either to be transparent or explicit. Now, the SSLI solution in A10 is multi-layered, as we mentioned. So one of the features we can have built in on the device is to act as a security proxy from explicit deployment mode or transparent mode as well, with a lot of security features that we're going to talk about. Also, if you have your proxy and you don't want to take it off, still A10 can deal with it. Either the proxy was explicit mode or transparent mode. This is different setups for the proxy. Of course, if the proxy is before A10 or before the SSLI, then it's not subjected to talk about it. But if it is in the security decrypt zone or after, this is the all cases, and we support almost all of them. So here, I want to go back. Here, if the transparent proxy behind A10, we are all happy, we have no problem, it's very easy. If it is in the middle, also there is no problem, because the traffic has no proxy headers. We can see the layer 4 and layer 7 precisely. If it is explicit proxy, in this case, there is an additional header over the HTTP connect header. And in this case, A10 has to access and process this connect header to scrub it, to see the original headers and deal with it. Then we will re-encrypt and add this header on top of it, the proxy header, before we forward it to explicit proxy. So we call it proxy chaining, and we support it, and you have to consider it as in any SSLI setup. Now, this is for A10, we did the homework for you. We already integrated with different type of security vendors. So all what you need to do is, when you configure A10 through the template wizard, you just need to click to the security vendor that you need to feed them with the decrypted traffic. And the wizard gonna walk you through the process and steps to configure the SSLI in a very easy and a smooth way. So, of course, it's not limited to those vendors, respected vendors. We have also with different type of vendors, but more or less, those vendors are a very good sample of all security vendors setups. So we know what they need, and we can act based on the requirement per vendor. Now, let's talk about advanced features. It's not really advanced, it's built in, and it's, for me, I see it in every single setup and reference for us in SSLI. Your security decrypt zone is very dynamic as well. It's not static. Every year we see the new adventures, the new inventions in security, and we would like to keep our security farm updated. So what if you have additional NG firewall? How you can feed them together with the decrypted or clear text traffic? Simply, A10 can do load balancing with persistency or stickiness or affinity based on the book we are reading from. A10 will decrypt the traffic and distribute it between 2 or more different firewalls. Of course, we can do it with consideration of the bandwidth, session, health check, and everything. So if a firewall is down, the health check will tell us it's not healthy, so let's go to the other firewall or the traffic. If both of them is fine, but they have different sizes, one of them support 1 gig, other one support 200 meg, we can do this load balancing as well. Many different ways of load balancing. Now, it could be serial as well. So it could be connected back to back, or all the traffic has to come back to the SSLI solution before we send it to the next security device. Now, you need to consider number of ports. You may need to put a switch in the middle, or you may need to go to larger box who can support massive number of ports. For example, in A10, we support a series for SSLI who has 48 ports, 10G, 1G, 10G. From high availability perspective, this is important. We also talked about how difficult sometimes to install security devices or elements inline. But with A10, we can have an active standby. So you are safe. If any device failed, we can fail over to the active device. We use a VRRP-A. So from your network perspective, consider it VRRP, which is multicasting using a layer 2 network domain between both devices. But internally, we have our own proprietary modification for this protocol, including session synchronization and so on. Now, just we need a layer 2 media in the middle, and we will take care of your MAC address versus ARP table. So we always send the active MAC address that is ready to process your packets. Also, A10 produces a fail open or a bypass in case of failure. So we have copper, and we have fiber ports to give you a bypass option. But if you need a bigger boxes or you want to have a dedicated failover switches, of course we support it with all vendor agnostics. Whatever is a switch or alternative solution you want to bypass the traffic, we welcome it and we can work with it as well. Now, moving forward to advanced features. I don't want to talk about every single thing here, but just to give you a brief. URL filtering, we talked about it, and we will talk about it again. ICAP, user authentication, application visibility, etc. So let's go through them as quick as we can. URL and web filtering, we talked about how important to categorize this with classifications and to take action based on the domain. As we mentioned, part of the compliancy is to bypass some domains. Here, what we can do with this classification to selectively choose some domains or some category to intercept or category to bypass. As well as we can have a parental control, so we can block some bad content over internet as you wish. We support ICAP. So if you have DLP, they normally use request mode. If you have an antivirus, they use response mode, as well as malware. So we support both of them, request mode, response mode. They are offline devices and they need to see what's going on to give you an action, what you shall do. So license-free built-in ICAP is a very important topic in the SSLI solution that you're gonna have. OpSWAT is just an example. We have a very good strategic partnership with them, with OpSWAT team. And here we use this example just to show you that OpSWAT use he needs ICAP, he needs sometimes a mirroring or tap, he need to have inline decrypted traffic visibility. So we support all of them all together to feed OpSWAT engines, different engines, parallelly to have an action and precise decision. User authentication and authorization is one of the very powerful topics and features here in SSLI. Still, it comes with A10 as a license free, but you need really to consider this authentication authorization. So instead of blocking an IP or a VLAN, we can take an action based on the username. So we can integrate with your AAA server. We can even fetch the attribute related to this user, and based on this, we can enforce the policies. So you can treat your network based on the categories or groups or whomever. Still, we can even integrate with Windows integration authentication for sake of simplicity. And all of this, all of what I mentioned is templatized. It's a template that you can find a wizard, you can click next, add the information, next, answer the questions, next, import the certificate, and then integrate with Active Directory, for example, and push the configuration, and that's it. Application visibility is one of the most important topics here as well today. We need to see what is the percentage of utilization, what is the utilization of the application, what is the application that we are visiting today, what frequent we are using these applications per day. So simply we have also integration with a third party to integrate with them. Also, they give us a feed and a hash table and different ways to identify the application. Here, we can even identify an application without decrypting this application. We know that WhatsApp, for example, is undecryptable, right? It does not use TLS SSL handshaking, so you cannot break the tie. It's already started, initiated the session encrypted. So how can we identify WhatsApp? How can we even block it? So we have our own way using the third-party integration. We can able to block it or even to redirect to different paths as you wish. Now, Traffic steering is an important topic where we can use the application intelligence during the application traffic steering, but even without it. If you have multiple security devices, and this is just an example, if you want HTTP and HTTPS traffic, all of it, to go through Secure Web Gateway and NG firewall, no need for IPS to inspect HTTPS. An example, we can do this because, as I mentioned, we understand layer 4, layer 2, and layer 3. We understand the IPs, and we can take an action based on the application type. In the same time, if you want a HTTPS, email, or SMTP, different type of applications, to go to IPS, we can do this as well. So we health check each device, and we can send the traffic based on the application as you wish. Now, also multi-layered security with an SSLI, we have threat intelligence integration that we can have an idea about bad players, callback servers, malicious websites, phishing websites, spam emails, and we can block all of them instantly using our refreshed domain and IP list. The same, we need for threat intelligence a proxy to keep this list updated from the cloud. Threat investigators will give you eventually an idea about the repetition and the risk factors that surrounding this domain, and you can take an action based on the score. One of the most important things as well in A10 is we can script it. You can use an AFLIX to type your script. Our AFLIX is based on the standard scripting language, which is TCL, and you can put any configuration. If you need to do something not built in the code, and you need to script the device to do something designated for your premises, you can do it easily, like filtering some traffic, drop some traffic, redirect some traffic, and you have full and complete flexibility to do this. Also, one of the very good features in A10 is after the traffic comes to A10, decrypted, send it to the decrypt zone, then you finish the inspection and send it back to A10. Now, the SSLI solution need to forward this encrypted traffic over internet. If you have multiple ISPs or one ISP with two links, active, or active standby, in this case, the SSLI solution from A10 can do health check per link. And this health check can take in consideration the latency over each link. So the most available link, we can send the traffic to it. Or you can distribute the traffic equally or proportionally, or even with bandwidth limitation over each link. And if an internet link is down, simply the health check, or even congested, the health check will notify the system with this, and you can take the configurable action either to fail over to other ISP link or do whatever. This is very important to take care of your traffic from a user machine to internet and vice versa. Worth to mention here, you remember when we told you about the feature in SSLI shall be bidirectional? So the traffic, egress traffic and ingress traffic, there is native feature or A10 solution, it's GSLP, where we can even drive the traffic, not only the egress traffic to distribute it between two ISPs, but also to receive the traffic that comes from external networks to your data center to come through which link. This is by alternating and modifying the DNS query responses for your domain IPs and domain hosted domains web services on your data center. So we can tell the external network to reach the services what is the IP you shall use. And based on this IP, we'll drive this traffic to come from either the most available link or even data center if you have DR. Now, from simplification perspective, how you can configure SSLI solution from A10. A10 did this in a very easy few steps to configure this what looks like a complex setup in a very easy and smooth and accurate way. So A10 made this template for you. You have a wizard where you can choose a deployment mode either to be a default mean layer 2 forwarding table. We don't intervene much in the IPs and routing. Whatever comes from Ethernet 1, send it to 2. Whatever comes from 3, send it to 4. Of course, we take care of the decryption, encryption. And or you can use different deployment mode like layer 3 multipass or layer 3. There is here multi-drop lists that you can drop lists that you can choose the deployment mode you are willing to provide your network with. Then you can just fill the table with the needed information and fill the next until the end. After this, you can change, review the configuration. You can edit it anytime you need from decryption rules and re-encryption rules. As we mentioned, we always keep these two different sessions or segments separate so you can later on change each part of it in an isolated way. Of course, you can add any licenses anytime you need. You can add an integration you need, and you can even troubleshoot it using this template. So A10 app-centric template already gives you the readings about the CPU, the control CPU, because A10 Solutions has dedicated control plane from data plane, so you have visibility over everything, the interface availability, and the licenses status. As you can see in this setup, we have SSLI, it's already there. Application visibility, it's already there. Web categorization and threat intelligence. So everything is in place. Now, to run a test, you can run a test end-to-end or even by segment. Why? A10 simply can be partitioned into multiple tenants, and we can do this SSLI across your network, even if it is consists of or contains many segments. So you can select the partition that you need to troubleshoot, and there is simply down there a check boxes of the health of each single function. If there is any problem, we will mark it with X, then in no time you can know where the problem and how you can troubleshoot it in a fast and efficient way. Finally, we give you a dedicated dashboard that reports the health of your SSLI. Is it good? Is it bad? The percentage of errors and what is the throughput? And even we can give you an idea about the application that you already enabled the license with. Remember, if you don't have a license, we cannot give you application traffic distribution table down there. And you can know, in this case, we are bypassing financial services for compliancy. So here you can make check how was the throughput or the traffic that goes to bypass domains. Suspicious categories, if you have threat intelligence. So we have also a graph show you if your network tried to access some suspicious categories and we blocked it. Down there, you can see the logs, the authentication logs if you enable it as well. Finally, you can see the comprehensive dashboard. What is the social media percentage? What is the application utilization, number of connections, and throughput? If you have an Office 365, A10 is technology partner with Microsoft. So we know Office 365, we can help a lot if you have Office 365 network. Eventually, also you can do have an idea about the sessions, the activity of the user's active session right now on the box, and whether it is bypassed or had been intercepted, what was the destination domain. And the beauty about it is you can even filter it with your left-hand side. You can filter it by source, by destination IP, by host or category, and SSLI action, either bypassed or intercepted. Logging is very important. A10 have a comprehensive logging solution, as we see in the app-centric template, as a reporting and monitoring. But if you need to keep these logs for more time and to go back to it, to archive it, we have a very enhanced logging solution that we can integrate with any logging and SIEM solution. In this slide, we show the strong alliances and partnership with Splunk. It's very easy to go to Splunk and add the A10 add-on and tell them it's SSLI add-on, and that's it. That's it. The integration will go there seamlessly. You can start to see the reporting on Splunk. Now, I want to thank you so much for your time, and this is the right time. If you have a question, please don't hesitate to ask now.